Characteristic 3 of the bad spirit is so obvious. You think it's your way or the highway. This is so obvious I don't need to spend much time on it. Your objective is not just to dominate, to manage your partner with condescension and intimidation, but to stake out the moral high ground. You seek to set up a hierarchy, a pecking order. You're in charge. You're the smartest person in the room. You're in control. And if it fails, you'll blame them, even though you're the one in charge. You're the one running it. But when it fails, you'll blame them because they didn't listen. I've talked to so many people that have this attitude, their way or the highway. And my question to them is always, if you're so smart, why is this off in the ditch? You're running this marriage. You got all of the answers. You're giving all the criticisms. If you're so smart, why are you sitting in my office in marital therapy with your wife contemplating different ways to get away from you? If you're so smart, why is this not working? You're in control. You're in charge. Well, she just won't listen. Well, no. You're the smart one. You should be smart enough to get her to listen, right? You're in control. You're the dominant force. So dominant forces are able to get people to do what they want to do. Well, she just won't. So you're not in control. Then why don't you shut up? Since it's evident that what you're doing isn't working, why don't you practice on shutting up and let somebody else talk? Well, we just need to find a new therapist. Well, yeah, you do, because I don't much care to talk to you. So if you're one of those people that think it's your way or the highway, you control the money, you control the time, you control every aspect. You're going to be lonely. Lonely. Because people are going to get away from you as fast as they can. You say it's my way or the highway, they're going to choose the highway. Trust me. They will drive, walk, hitchhike, run, whatever. They'll choose the highway every time before they listen to your dogmatic ass. For sure, they will get away from you. So how do you know if you're this person? Well, number one, you're intolerant of your partner's initiatives or ideas. They all got to be you. You don't listen to them. You're just intolerant. They got a thought, an idea. Nope. Number two, ask yourself this. Do you regularly interrupt your partner during conversations so that you can get in what you want to say instead of patiently allowing your partner to finish their thought? Because why waste time listening to them? You're the one with all the answers. You're the smartest person in the room, so why would you waste time listening to them? Number three, you change the game on those few occasions when you realize that your partner is actually making a good point. So you might say to your partner, for instance, well, you don't have to use that tone of voice. They're making a good point. So you've got to get out of the situation so they're not actually edifying themselves. Instead of solving the problem, you got to say, I don't like your tone of voice. What they were saying made sense, so you got to pick on the way they're saying it. You change the game. Number four, you cannot end a confrontation until your partner acknowledges that you're right. Number five, if your partner won't admit the rightness of your position, you tend to talk or act like a martyr, making sure your partner understands that you just don't feel appreciated. Well, no matter what I do, it's not enough. You just don't get it. You just don't get it. I try, I work, I just can't do enough. I just can't please you. You regularly assume a saintly, pious position with friends and family, telling them all you have to put up with concerning your impossible partner. And my favorite, you tend to start sentences with guilt-inducing phrases like, if you loved me, if you cared for me, or I told you so, you should have listened. That's your bad spirit at its next to ugliest. It's not quite the ugliest, but it's next to ugliest. So what's the ugliest? It's when you turn into an attack dog. Now, this characteristic is so easy to trigger and so hard to undo. How many times have you started out discussing an issue? You just start out, let's just have a conversation. And you end up ripping into your partner with a personal attack. You think you're going to stay in control. We're just going to have a discussion here. But very soon, you suddenly bail out on the topic. it just goes by the wayside. Whatever it was you were talking about, it just gets pushed to the side and gives way to personal attacks, character assassination. You might have been talking about money, shopping, parenting, planning for summer. It doesn't matter what the topic was. But very early on, that gets pushed away and you start undermining the confidence and self-worth of your partner. You get vicious. And when viciousness gets out of hand, and it does, this cherished partner, this person that you supposedly love, is beaten down. It's a verbal whipping. Sometimes it goes beyond that. Sometimes it becomes physical violence. Sometimes it gets even worse than that. But usually it's just a verbal beatdown. The message is clear. I want to hurt you. They know it. You know it. Sometimes it's blatant and recognizable. And make no mistake, you'll know what buttons to push. If you're wanting to go on the attack, you'll know what buttons to push. You know what they're sensitive about. You know what hurts them. Maybe your husband had a father that was domineering and overbearing, maybe even violent. And you can start out talking about planning for finances, but early on it's you're just like your father. Now you know that is the last person in the world he wants to be like. You know that will get to him. And so you go there, you say you're just like your father. And in a flash, it's all out war. You find yourself saying things like, how could you be so selfish? Are you ever going to quit being so self-absorbed and ignoring your children, ignoring your wife, ignoring your husband? The message is clear. The damage is done. And believe you me, that is a hard bell to unring. How do you know if you're falling into this? I think it's pretty clear, but I'll give you some checkpoints just to be sure. Number one, your interactions are marked at least by a very harsh tone of voice and often by in-your-face shouting. Two, your interactions are marked by such body language as a curled upper lip, pointed fingers in the face, or that Clint Eastwood killer stare, or exaggerated mocking eye rolls. Your comments are laden with condescension, such as, well, you really turned out to be a great catch, didn't you? Or your comments are full of insults and name-calling, from bitch and bastard to fat and ugly. I mean, it's just pure character assassination. Your comments are filled with you statements such as, you make me sick, you disgust me, you are stupid, you are worthless. And as I said, you push those buttons in vulnerable areas. And lastly, as opposed to an act of overt commission, you withhold from your partner that which you know they want and need to have peace in your life. And all of this is because you seek to manage them with intimidation, both physical, mental, and emotion. You're just trying to overwhelm them, overbear them. It's management by intimidation, and that never works. Now, there's a flip side to this in your face. There's a part of the bad spirit that instead of you turning into an attack dog, you turn into a passive warmonger. You've all heard about passive aggressive. Passive aggressive people are those that will sabotage you. They'll try to make things hard. Like, you don't want to help do the dishes, so just break a few. It's like, here, just give me that. We've only got so many dishes. Just give me that. Just go on. You're passive aggressive. You don't say you don't want to do it. You just do such a bad job that you get out of it. Passive aggressive people just don't understand. You can have a passive aggressive person at work. They don't want you to have gotten the supervisor position. So when you're trying to explain a new system or program, they just don't get it. I'm sorry, you're confusing me. I just don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm trying. I just don't get it. So they'll make you spend 2.5 hours explaining something that should have taken 20 minutes. And then the boss comes around and says, well, have you finished all these other things? Well, no, I'm still doing this. 2.5 hours and you're still doing this? It should have taken 20 minutes. Yeah, well, they passive aggressively got you. because they sabotaged you all along. And you ask them, oh, I'm trying. I'm thank you for your patience. So here are some telltale signs as to whether or not you, whether you admit it or not, are a passive warmonger. After listening to your partner make a suggestion, you agree with the suggestion, and then a few minutes later start talking about why it will fail rather than how it could succeed. You agree with it to their face, but then before it even gets started, you start finding fault and talking about how it's going to come apart. Like I just said about the person at work, you feign confusion when your partner explains even simple rationales for changing something in your relationship that you happen to like. You feign ineptness over activities that you just don't like, whether it's painting the room or watching the kids or doing the dishes. You time vague and subjectively defined illnesses to come up with competing events to interfere with plans made by your partner that you didn't like. They've put something together that they want to do and you didn't, and just when it's time to do it, oh my God, I've got this horrible stomach bug. You don't admit it. You don't say, look, I don't want to go. Like when I told Robin, I don't want to go to your sister's. I'll just tell you now, I don't want to go. If you're going to be mad, tell me now. Let's work it out now. Instead, if I was a passive warmonger, when it came time to go, I could have just said, oh my gosh, I've got a terrible stomach bug, and just sabotaged the trip. And the one that drives me the most crazy, drives any therapist crazy, is the yeah but. We call them the yeah but patients. No matter what you say, they listen and go, yeah, but what about this? They can come in and say, well, yeah, I've got this teenage son and they cuss and call me names all the time. So you can sit down with the child and you can say, okay, it's not very becoming to you, and I know you're better than that, so let's make a commitment that instead of name calling and instead of cussing, you're going to require more of yourself, and we're not going to do that anymore. Let's role play some ways that we're going to handle those frustrations instead. And we'll role play that. Then they'll go home for a week and do a great job and come back the next week and say, what happened? Say, well, didn't call a single name, didn't cuss a single time. So how you feel about that, Mom? Yeah, but how long is it going to last? Well, I don't know, but it lasted a week and you hadn't been able to get past a single day for the last 3 years and we just got a week. That's progress, isn't it? Yeah, but you just don't know her. You get a kid that is just not doing their schoolwork and they're flunking out of school, and you can get them to say, listen, you can get more out of your parents by doing this schoolwork than you could ever steal by sneaking out the window and trying to go around the edges. So I'm going to appeal to your greed here. You're really smart. Let's just turn in the homework. It's 40% of your grade. You know you can do the test. And so then they come back and say, well, they went from C's to A's. Yeah, but they're just doing it to manipulate me. Well, what do you care? They learned the stuff. They went through the semester with straight A's and they're only doing it to make you happy? Yeah, but that's not a real thirst for knowledge. Whoa. That's the passive-aggressive warmonger. Ask yourself, are you a yeah but partner? And if you are, boy, oh boy, you got to ask yourself, what's the payoff?